Okay, good morning. We have two public speakers. First one is Murray Bowden. He's passing. That's our Christmas present for Murray. Okay, next is Catherine Kruger, Staten Island Commuters. Okay, Catherine, is she here? No. Okay, the transit meeting wore everyone down. Okay, now, approval and a second for the minutes from the last meeting, please. Okay, all in favor? Aye. Same with the work plan. There are no changes to it this month. Do I have a second? All in favor? Okay. This is Darrell's first meeting. I promise I won't be this hyper in January. Darrell?
Okay, good morning. First, I'd like to say to everyone to have a happy holiday going forward. And Chairperson Chevelle and the members of the committee, I will now give the floor for the operating statistics to Mr. John Hine.
Good morning. Good morning. The performance highlights for the month of October are on pages 11 and 12 in the committee book. Overall combined bus MDBF was down 11.1% in October of 10 compared to October of 9. However, the combined 12-month average MDBF through October 10 was up by 1.1% compared to the prior 12-month average. October performance declines in MDBF are the result of articulated bus engine failures, hybrid bus fuel issues, as well as MCI and CNG bus component failures. Corrective actions are underway, including warranty repairs, fleet-specific maintenance programs, and a replacement of more than 750 buses scheduled for retirement in 11. October bus service performance measures declined slightly. Combined AM weekday pullouts were 99.42%, and combined PM weekday pullouts were 99.64% for the month of October. For the previous 12 months, combined AM weekday pullouts were 99.01%, and combined PM weekday pullouts were 99.29%. Completed trips were 98.77% for the month of October and 98.33% for the previous 12 months. Now I'll give the floor to Steve Vidal for the safety report.
Good morning. Our comments on the September customer and employee safety performance refer to results that are listed on page 13. I'll begin by reporting that positive progress is continuing in the majority of our safety indicator categories. Looking forward at early trends for October, the data support continuing positive outlooks for 4 of the 5 safety indicators. For collision injuries, the safety indicator that I have reported on at prior meetings, we, along with the Public Transportation Safety Board, continue to struggle with increased injury claims on a per-incident basis that require no medical attention. With regard to positive trends, the 12-month rate for combined bus collisions per million miles traveled across the 3 bus units is at a minus 2.0%, and over the long term has been trending in the right direction since our January negative performance of 5.7%. Both the 12-month rates for customer accidents and customer accident injuries are moving steadily in the right direction on a regional basis since we addressed these issues in March. The 12-month rate for employee on-duty lost time accidents is continuing to gradually edge its way forward and now stands at 0.7% better than its 2009 levels. It's significant to note that this comparison to the January negative performance of 25.2%. Now I'd like to introduce Steve Lopiano to present paratransit information.
Good morning. I will begin with the paratransit report on page 15. Access-a-Ride paratransit ridership increased by 5% for the month of October. Able Ride was down 17.9% compared to October 2009 levels. The Able Ride decrease reflects the elimination of non-ADA trips implemented as part of the 2010 budget reduction plan. For the most recent 12-month period through October 2010, Access-a-Ride ridership was up 8.6% and Able Ride was down 7.5% compared to the prior 12-month period. Requests for service in October increased by 3.9% for Access-A-Ride and decreased by 18.5% for Able-Ride compared to October 2009. For the 12-month period, requests for service increased by 8.3% for Access-A-Ride and were down 7.1% for Able-Ride. Trips completed were up by 5.1% for Access-A-Ride and down by 18.2% for Able-Ride in October 2010 when compared to October 2009. For the last 12 months, completed trips were up 8.6% for Access-A-Ride and down 7.1% for Able-Ride when compared to the prior 12-month period. The favorable trend regarding passenger no-shows as a percentage of scheduled trips continued for Access-A-Ride in October, as there were 24.5% fewer no-shows compared to last year. Able-Ride passenger no-shows also decreased by 4.1% in October 2010 compared to October 2009. As I mentioned last month, the taxi debit card pilot program is proceeding on schedule and will begin on December 15th. I'd like to introduce Tom Del Sorbo to present ridership, finance, and procurement sections of the agenda.
Good afternoon. I'll start with the ridership report on page 14 of the committee book. Total fixed route ridership decreased by 4.4% for October in comparison to October 2009. For the full 12-month period, total ridership was down 2.8% compared to the previous 12 months. Overall, average weekend ridership was up 1.6% for the month of October, but down 2.6% for the 12-month period. Weekday ridership overall was down 1.8% in October and down 1.7% for the 12-month period. Finally, for ridership, what is notable about the October results when you look at them by agency are our weekend results, where all three agencies were up fairly well in October over 2009. MTA Bus on the weekend was up 5.3%. Long Island Bus was up 9.1% in October 2010. And New York City Transit Department of Buses were up by 0.8% compared to October 2009 on the weekend. Moving along to the finance report, which is summarized on page 16, farebox revenue for fixed route service for year-to-date through October was 1.9% better than the mid-year forecast for MTA Bus, 1.6% better than the forecast for LIB, but 1.4% worse for New York City Transit Bus. With regard to expenses, year-to-date through October, accrued actual non-reimbursable expenses continued the same trends. For MTA Bus, they were over budget by worse than the forecast by $14.8 million, again attributable to the public liability claims issue we've mentioned in previous months. Long Island Bus was $4.9 million better than mid-year forecast, and New York City Transit Bus was 46.7 better than the forecast through October year-to-date. And that is the finance report. I'm going to move right into page 48, which is the procurements.
Yeah, I just wanted to say one thing I forgot to say earlier. That Pat Foy could not make the meeting today. He was at the morning railroad meetings, but because everything is running so late, he had to go to something else, and he didn't want it to be portrayed that it was for any lack of interest in this meeting that he is not here. Okay.
Okay, on page 48, we begin with a total of 4 procurement actions totaling $65.16 million in proposed expenditures for approval this month. There are 3 non-competitive actions this month for the Department of Buses, which include the introduction of a black car service pilot program for paratransit, as noted on page 53 in the staff summary, expansion of the IVIN, or Intelligent Vehicle Network System, to an additional 6 depots, as noted on page 55, and implementation of a bus camera security program on 426 buses in the New York City Transit fleet, which is outlined in the staff summary on page 54.
It's also outlined in the New York Post today.
As well as many radio reports. There are no competitive procurements this month, but there is one ratification for $17,612 for the committee's approval. I will move to Chairperson Chevelle for motion and questions.
Anyone have any questions? Yes, Andrew?
Is the bus, the cameras for the buses across all agencies or just New York City Transit?
It starts just with New York City Transit.
And ultimately,
Yeah, ultimately, New York City Transit and MTA Bus Company.
okay.
Okay, Jeff, 1 second, Jeff was next, sorry.
I couldn't miss pointing out, I think the CTG, whether it's CTG or the other contractor, Livery for All is a great step in the right direction. I think there's no question that this is going to save us money. In fact, I think it says CTG's pricing is 36% less per trip than our primary carrier service. We should certainly be moving in this direction. I'm glad to see at least I think it's a 2-year pilot program.
Yes.
It's 2 years.
So,
Yes,
you
it's a-
know,
it's a
I
2-year
I
pilot.
assume we're going to be making the steps as quickly as we can to make it not just a pilot program, but understanding procurement rules. We can move forward with that. Hopefully, the more competition, the better. So if
Right.
CTG is not the only one, we should get more as well.
We're in the process of trying to cultivate additional competition. We're still working with Lifer. We're hopeful that we'll be able to strike a deal with them, probably not on interborough, but probably on intraborough. That's where they seem to be somewhat competitive. And beyond that, we're going to be trying to interest other folks in this, and we agree with you. We think it's a real opportunity.
And Jeff, I must say, if anyone has been the most outspoken about this area of waste, it's been Jeff. So it's nice to see that our cost per ride is going to go down substantially. Doreen?
The deployment of these cameras on buses, are we first putting them on the routes where we've had incidents with driver abuse?
Yes, high crime areas in the Bronx and Brooklyn. Namely, 2 years ago, Edwin Thomas was murdered, and the B-46 that comes out of Flatbush Depot, Brooklyn, that's our focal point initially.
There have been 6 cameras on every bus in Paris for 20 years. Let that inspire you. And they're French, remember.
And they move about 1/zillionth amount of people we move a day. Okay, that's it? Okay, yes?
Just one quick, ditto, I agree with Jeff Kay. Let's get the pilot projects into Staten Island as well, very fertile, push the costs down, and I move the items.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, on to service change. I'll turn the floor over to Norm Silverman.
Good morning. This month, there is one service change in the committee book as an information item on page 56. The service change is for MTA Bus and represents a revision to the QM24 Express bus route, which will use 6th Avenue instead of 8th Avenue or one of its branches to travel between 34th Street to 57th Street in Midtown Manhattan. This change will both streamline service and redirect service to provide direct access to the very high-density commercial corridor along 6th Avenue, matching the primary travel path used by most other Queens-based express bus routes.
Okay.
We all-
No, we don't vote on that.
No, it's for your information. There's no questions. We have a second presentation this month for the committee which briefly outlines the results of a 2010 customer satisfaction survey for local bus service provided by New York City Transit and MTA Bus. I would like to have Peter Cafiero make this presentation.
Yeah, and before we start this, since I sat through a long presentation of this presentation at the railroad meeting, basically, you have the customer satisfaction results in front of you. We all are able to read it, I had asked if there was anything in here that was either strongly positive or strongly negative. I looked through it. It all seems very middle of the road. We're going to do a very brief presentation, and if anyone has questions, you're always welcome to ask.
Yes, I was just going to summarize and not do the whole presentation on the board in the interest of catching up with time. As was mentioned, this was a survey done by MTA for all the operating agencies. In the case of, and this is the first time it's been done comprehensively with the same measures and questions and rating schemes at the same time. It was done in June, which with the service cuts may have been a challenging time to do it. In the case of the bus, 900 customers were interviewed by telephone with random digit dialing. These were bus users in New York City, so New York City Transit and MTA Bus. We received a rating of 62% satisfactory, which certainly is, we discussed at the previous committee about glass half empty, half full. It's certainly positive that most people are satisfied, but we can definitely improve. Particularly if you go to page 8, the handout shows some of the areas in bus mechanical reliability, which we control directly. We get very high ratings, 90%, but many of the lower ratings related to travel time, and these speak directly to our initiatives to work with New York City on bus lane enforcement, on getting the buses through faster, and on expanding select bus service and other means like Smart Card of making it faster to be able to get on and off buses. We have on page 9 some other categories that were measured. One that we'll be working on over the next few years is schedules at bus stops, which are posted at New York City Transit stops currently, but not at MTA bus routes because of their older scheduling software. So as that's upgraded, that's something that can be improved. On the other hand, we got pretty high ratings on again, condition of the buses, wheelchair lifts, clean windows, door operations, all of those things were well in the 90s. So there are a lot of positive aspects of the survey, but things that we can focus on moving forward in the future. The last page talks about what were the highest priorities of our customers, mostly related to knowing when the bus was coming and faster, more frequent service. Within our budget constraints, that's what we try to provide. But our targeting initiatives to achieve some of this are improved passenger information on next bus arrival using wireless and other means, and better enforcement of bus lanes and select bus service. Thank you.
Just quickly, I attended at Wagner College a project of theirs with Port Richmond High School last Friday, and they did a survey that I'm going to share with Darrell for him to respond. I don't think the grades were quite as complimentary, particularly with respect to people being passed on bus stops waiting for the bus when they're trying to get somewhere. So I will share their comments with you.
Okay.
It's a good thing you didn't get me on the phone this week after the week I had with New York City Transit Bus. 35-minute wait from 5:20 to 5:55 for a Madison Avenue bus, of which there are 3 routes that run on Saturdays. 35-minute wait. During that period of time, 9 people peeled off to take cabs, pedicabs, gypsy cabs, the whole 9 yards, which is very sad. 28-minute wait on Thursday night for an M66. We've got to figure this out, especially in cold weather. We can't keep people waiting at stops, and it just boggled my mind that on a route like Madison Avenue, there were no buses for a 35-minute period.
Okay, I'll get that from you offline, and some of the steps that we're taking right now on the, me stepping into the job, we're putting a new focus on road operations and on-time performance and those type of statistics in terms of service delivery. So hopefully in the near future, you should see some improvement. Okay.
I'm always on the phone with Mike Rybosch telling him about buses that have incorrect destination signs, so I hope that that's going to be a focus of the change. Yesterday I called him about an M5 at 72nd Street northbound that has had the wrong sign on it all the way from South Ferry, and of course, as you know, that affects transfers. So, if the bus operators can be instructed when they reach the end of their route to reverse the destination, it would be a big help.
Okay, thank you.
He actually sometimes calls the driver right as he's operating.
Okay.
Okay. Now, lastly, we have an action item here where we have to discuss the budget, and at the end of the brief budget discussion, we will be asked to vote separately on the MTA bus and separately on the Long Island bus.
Thank you. Okay, this month's agenda does include the final proposed budgets for 2011 for MTA Bus and Long Island Bus. This presentation is going to reflect the combined budgets and program initiatives, just tell me if I'm in the way, of the 3 bus agencies as outlined in the November financial plan, which is really an update to the July financial plan. Similar to the other agencies in the MTA, the bus operations budget incorporates the principles and actions taken during 2010 to cut costs on a recurring basis, and the November plan builds on those efforts to identify additional savings and efficiencies. Some key points to note. The The November plan for bus operations does not contain any additional budget-related service reductions. The July plan incorporated MTA-wide recurring savings of $525 million, and the November plan delivers additional cost reductions of $200 million annually by 2014. For this committee, it's notable that the bus operations unit contribute $190 million in 2011 savings, primarily driven by cost reductions in paratransit, full-year implementation of specific service reductions, and significant reductions in overtime spending, as well as the size of our administrative workforce. Another key plan element that's all agencies include is the inclusion of a net zero represented employee wage growth for 2 years, where any wage increases must be offset by corresponding productivity savings. This plan also incorporates the recently approved 2010 fare and toll increases established as part of the 2009 rescue package. The plan also reflects another 7.5% increase planned for 2013 is established in the rescue package to incorporate biannual fare increases in our financial plans. And finally, the plan projections assume continued receipt of various dedicated taxes and subsidies for the MTA. The next 2 slides highlight some important bus operations priorities as we strive to improve the quality of bus service while making every dollar count. A critical and highly visible effort in bus operations includes the various initiatives designed to speed up bus service for the passengers. There are 3 key components of this initiative. Emphasis on the Select Bus Service Program, which now operates on 2 routes. Working closely with New York City DOT to implement a comprehensive bus lane enforcement program that incorporates on-bus, mobile, and fixed-post camera technology. And beginning to roll out a traffic signal priority program in key spots throughout New York City, also in conjunction with City DOT. Providing the customer with real-time bus information is also a very high priority. In 2011, a pilot project on 1 route will test a concept to modify the standard on-bus equipment being used for the Phase 2 Smart Card pilot. If successful, we will be able to deliver real-time bus data to customers much sooner at a much lower capital cost and at lower operating and maintenance costs than originally contemplated by using a proprietary single vendor. The 2011 budget incorporates the completion and delivery of key capital program projects that will bring our customers desirable service improvements also. In January 2011, the opening of the Charleston Bus Depot will provide us with the operational flexibility to provide improved bus service in Staten Island. We are also scheduled during 2011 to receive a total of 768 new buses with improved passenger amenities such as automated announcements and more visible destination signs. These new buses will be more reliable, provide better performance, and better fuel economy. The 768 buses delivered in 2011 will include multiple test fleets to help us evaluate technological improvements in different areas of the bus, including engines, transmissions, and cooling systems. Sure.
Before Joe left, he had mentioned a bus that automatically knew when it was starting its route again and reset the destination signs. Are those the kind of buses you're talking about?
No, that's the pilot on 34th Street. The customer information.
Mike.
That's the pilot on 34th Street that Joe was referring to. This is a customer information system that will allow you to get information on the next bus available on your PDA or your cell phone.
I know, understood that, but Tom was mentioning something about new destination signs on the buses.
More visible.
They're only as good as being set correctly, obviously.
The new destination signs will be LED lights, and we're working to get wireless downloads so we can have changes during the picks without any manpower, save us money that way.
Got it.
Okay. We're also using technology in other areas to reduce costs and enhance the customer experience. As we discussed a few minutes ago, in 2011, we will be installing security cameras on buses. We are also rolling out the HASTIS scheduling system, which has been successfully used in transit for a number of years, to MTA Bus and Long Island Bus to provide more cost-efficient bus route scheduling, and the financial plan includes those savings. To fully achieve many of our operational goals and service goals, we need to successfully address some of the major challenges that are central to the commitment of making every dollar count. Three key focus areas for bus operations are to improve the availability of our employees, improve the productivity of our maintenance work, and address reliability issues on specific bus models. We are combining our objective of reducing overtime levels with an improvement in employee availability. A variety of different work schedule adjustments, particularly in the transportation area, combined with different pilots to mitigate absences for injuries on duty, random drug testing, and restricted duty assignments are underway to improve the level of employee availability and reduce our overall expense levels. In the area of maintenance productivity, we are working with headquarters to identify specific maintenance tasks that could be done in less time, utilizing various shop demonstrations and benchmarking data for high-frequency repair activities. And finally, while the delivery of 768 buses will allow us to retire these older, unreliable buses, we're continuing to address proactively maintenance issues on buses not scheduled for retirement. Examples of fleet-specific maintenance concerns include hybrid bus fuel and articulated engine issues. After these 768 buses are delivered and overage buses are retired, we will be able to reduce our average fleet age to 6.8 years at the end of 2011, down from the current level of 7.7 today. Next slide. The November plan builds on the extensive cost-cutting efforts that we first identified in the July plan. This slide highlights some of the key elements of the $190 million in savings as identified by bus operations. Overtime savings, $15 million reduction or 7% of the budget. 100 administrative positions reduced, valued at over $9 million. Increased operating efficiencies in both maintenance and in transportation, including less time to do brake relines, frequency changes on air conditioning inspections, and productivity improvements in the shop overhaul area. In terms of transportation, we've reduced costs in the shifting area for non-revenue bus movements, and relief coverage has been tightened. We also have the capital program generates reduced costs too. As I mentioned before, performance improvements from new buses, fewer road calls. Use of wheelchair ramps rather than lifts reduces maintenance costs, and fewer road calls as a result of the reliability of buses. In the paratransit area, as you know, there have been substantial efforts to develop a more efficient operation. The initiatives included renegotiating contracts, increased use of vouchers and other such pilots, trip-by-trip planning initiatives to really kick off in 2011. And finally, in this bullet, cuts made in service areas that were implemented in 2010 will be fully impacted in 2011 in terms of cost savings. We also benefited from Transit's negotiation to create a new medical benefits contract structure. MTA Bus and Department of Buses will generate $10 million in health and welfare savings as a result of that effort. Finally, on page 6, this is some example of some key statistics that indicate the size and scope of the service provided by bus operations. However, I think what's often hidden to the customer are all of the associated activities that go on behind the scenes to provide this service 365 days a year. Just some things that people aren't always aware of are things we do every day. Inspecting buses daily at every depot, repairing defects found during inspection, fueling, sweeping, washing, and emptying fare boxes on all buses daily, weather permitting on washing. Bus operators conduct pre-trip inspections on each bus before pullout to meet 19A requirements. Daily depot maintenance goes on of fuel lines, fuel tanks, bus lifts, and the repair of depot systems and structures. Major bus overhauls at regular cycles to maintain a state of good repair, and dispatchers are deployed inside depots and on the road to manage service availability and road operations. The last 3 slides that are in this presentation they just represent the final proposed expense budget levels for each of the 3 agencies of information. That concludes the budget presentation. Any questions before we begin any discussion on the staff summaries?
Can I be real quick? I don't want to belabor the point, but the first time I seen that number, the wheelchair usage on buses was 1.3 million. Is that an annual usage?
That's annual.
And there's 10 million paratransit rides.
Steve?
Okay, are there any other questions? Now, how do we do this in terms of the voting?
One for MTA bus and then follow Long Island bus.
Okay,
To move
so
it.
first, I'd like, I move the MTA bus budget to move it to finance, correct?
Correct.
And all in favor? Okay. Next, I move the I see a light going on?
No, go ahead.
Okay,
Go ahead.
next, I move the Long Island bus budget. All in favor?
Mr. Chairman, in view of my strong hope, and on behalf of Pat, that we still can reach an agreement between MTA and Nassau County, I will vote to just send it to finance without my recommendation.
Okay, that's fair
Please put
enough.
that in the record.
I do hope, too, that
Thank
we
you.
can work out something, very much so. Okay, any questions, comments? We move both of them then to finance. Okay.
Okay. Darrell, any final words?
Okay, well, that concludes our agenda for today, and if there's any other questions, we'll take them now.
Happy holidays.
Okay.
I promise I don't rush my holidays like I rushed this meeting. Okay, thank you. Okay, all in favor?